Hey, everyone. So I am super duper excited because today I'll be speaking with Miss Amber Lachey of Ratchet Assets and her husband on how they were able to build a multi-million dollar portfolio on how they and so you have the opportunity to tune in live, ask questions if you're watching the live. If you're watching the replay, be sure to comment down below with any questions that you have, and I'll be sure to reach out to Amber and her husband and get them answered for you. So, really quickly, I met Amber Lachey on Clubhouse about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, and she was in this group called Pre-Market Movers. And so we were all talking about stocks and our positions in the market and suggestions about the market. And her and I made this amazing connection. She since has moved to Atlanta. So her and I've been in connection a lot more. And she's been talking to me about these amazing ways in which she's been able to build her real estate portfolio. And I was like, sis, can you please teach me? But while you're teaching me, can you please teach my people too? So she's super happy to come aboard, and I actually will be sharing a presentation that she created specifically just to be able to give y'all an overview and also answer the questions of how she was able to build this portfolio within real estate and how you can begin to do the exact same thing. So let me bring her up. I'm super excited about it. Hey, Amber. Let me unmute you. Hold on. Hey, girl.
Y'all have to forgive me. I've been having like a lot of technical issues. Today's been crazy busy trying to prepare for this conference, so you forgive me. And my husband should be logging on in a minute. He was just like, Amber, you're all over the place.
Oh, girl.
So he's here. So he's going to be logging on in a minute. I just sent him the link. And I'm really excited to be on your platform to share. I think your people are getting it before my people with regards to how to jump into the real estate market with as little as $1,200, maybe even $1,000. And so I am excited. But before I jump into that presentation, I do want to just share like the traditional way so that people can understand the difference and actually be able to be strategic about which strategy they should use to jump into real estate. My husband and I have used a plethora of strategies, and we've come across some road bumps.
Mm-hmm.
And as a result, we found that this strategy that we're using is really cool, especially for people who may not have the resources, and considering like what's going on with the market now with regards to interest rates going up. This is another means of individuals being able to jump into real estate with the money that they're earning like right now, and get you a house that's going to appreciate.
Okay. Because people, I'm just now jumping into real estate. Like, this has been a major goal for me, is I want each of my daughters to have their own property, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's something I'm just like, when I accomplish this, I'm like, okay, I've done my job. I've created generational wealth. Like, beyond life insurance, beyond setting up portfolios, I want them to have a position in real estate. And so when I met you and you were like, girl, I'm buying a lot. And I was like, wait a minute. I was like, show me your ways. So I see that your husband has jumped in too. So I'm sure you want to introduce.
Cool. Yes. I'm gonna let him introduce himself first, because he tends to be humble, and if he doesn't say enough, then I'm gonna jump in and be like, okay, this guy right here is
okay. So. Let me add him in, Mr. Derek Harrison, while she gets out her eyes.
Yeah, my eyes are so sensitive of that.
Okay, here we go. Hey, Mr. Derek, how are you?
Doing?
Hi, honey.
Oh,
so I have to correct everyone. It's actually Dr. See, this is what I'm talking about. I wanted him to introduce himself. You see how he signed on as Derek? No, it's actually Dr. Derek D. Harrison.
Oh, doctor. We have a doctor.
We have Dr. Harrison in the house.
Dr. Derek Harrison. Yes, sir. Let me put some respect on that man's name. Okay, so Dr. Harrison and Mrs. Harrison.
Yes.
So, really quickly, I've been bragging about you.
Thank you.
I've been bragging, but could you please tell everyone what you all have been able to do over the past few years with building your portfolio and where you are now? Because this speaks to a lot. This speaks to to what we as a community can do when we put our mind to it, right? And my thing is we know what the statistic looks like. We know what the data says. The data says that by 2053, our projected wealth, our projected wealth is supposed to be zero. And so what y'all are doing as a married couple and what y'all are doing for the community by educating gives us so much stronger of a position to be able to fight that. And so I want y'all to kind of brag on yourselves a little bit and talk about what you've been able to accomplish. So they know the credit. They see, because you know on social media people be like, yeah, rich, we get money, yeah, all of this. Like,
Yeah.
but like y'all been able to build wealth. And
Yeah.
that's great. So I would really love if y'all could humbly brag on yourselves for a second.
I can share a little bit. Me and Amber, I think we both come from very humble beginnings. I'm from the projects in Brooklyn, New York City Housing Authority. So I grew up on public assistance. I have 4 siblings, and we grew up. We struggled growing up. We grew up in the tough neighborhoods of Brooklyn in the 90s. And Amber's from Texas, and she grew up in Dallas. And she'll share her story. She grew up in a struggle as well, but we individually, before we met each other, we dedicated ourselves to a lifestyle of investment. So when I was in Brooklyn, I knew that I didn't want to stay there. I wanted to improve my life. I just didn't know how. But what I did know is that if I invested in my education, that it was going to give me a stepping stone or a platform to have more options. And that's the basis, I think, upon which me and Amber met, because she did the same thing from where she was at. And through our lifestyles of investing in ourselves, we invested in each other. And we used our money to invest in our future. And that's the mindset I think that we had when in 2015, when we started in real estate. That was our common ground. And we didn't necessarily know all the things that we wanted to do, but as we continue to live that lifestyle, that investor's lifestyle, then we developed our long-term vision of where it is now.
That was low-key poetic. I'm sorry. It's like that was awesome. So when you said that you came from humble beginnings, right? You knew that you wanted to build something that could help more people who come from humble beginnings as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's amazing, because I think, like, especially when we look at it now, there's a lot of people trying to figure it out. Like, they're following so many different avenues and they're trying to pick up on all these different things that look shiny as an opportunity, and they're getting burned by it. But I think when you are connected to the right people who have the right intentions and they're not afraid to show you, like, hey, these are the hiccups that we made along the way, but we still made it, that it gives people like myself, excitement. Like, dang, okay, I can mess up in this. I can figure this out, because real estate to me is scary. That's why I haven't done it yet. But Amber came in and she was like, yeah, girl, I'm on my way to Detroit. Yeah, girl, I did it. Yeah, girl, I did. I was like, hold up now. Amber just moving. If Amber can do this, I know I can do this. Like, because Amber is on the go. And she's a mom and she's a wife and she is like on it. And so when she told me, like, hey, yeah, it's me and my husband, I was like, man, I can't wait to interview y'all. So Amber, can you kind of talk about your humble beginnings to where you are now as well?
Girl, all I gotta say is I slept with roaches. You know what I'm saying? I'm not even gonna lie. I'm gonna just put it out there. You know, like my parents, they separated. My mom, my dad, my sister went to go live with my stepfather at the time, and my mom took me. And when my sister lived, you know, with a better life, we slept on the floor. We didn't have any money, and so my humble beginning starts honestly at the age of maybe like 7, when our family was kind of torn apart, based on some of my, my stepfather's transgressions. And my mom, definitely had to, figure it out. And then, while we were able to get back on our feet, I went to college. Of course, she didn't have any money to help me get through college, and didn't have the credit, right? And I was accepted into a really good college as a result of my mom just kind of instilling in me the importance of education. But I found myself being homeless. I found myself taking a year off from school, not wanting to go back home. And as a result, basically staying in Atlanta, not being able to get a job in the apartment that I was living in at the time, ended up evicting me. And I stayed in the airport, would stay with my friends, lie to them, and just, like, oh, I'm coming over for the weekend. When in actuality, I needed a place to take a shower at and take a bath. And I had to basically, I roughed it out. I knew I was familiar with kind of just roughing it out because I roughed it out before. And as a result, things did get better, but it wasn't significantly better. And I knew that if I kind of just reminded myself of the goal, I looked at that situation as being temporary, and I continued to look for jobs. I think I was in that struggle for about 6 months, going from pillow to post, not knowing where I was going to sleep, sleeping at Atlanta Hartsfield Airport, lying to my friends and stuff. Eventually, ironically, I ended up getting a job at the airport and made a promise that I would never, ever be in that situation again. I also made a promise that my kids, I didn't have a kid at that time, but I made a promise that my kids, if I should have any, would never know what it's like to be homeless, but not from me anyway, and I made it my business. Like, if I asked God, I remember praying and asking God, like, if you're able to get me out of this situation, then I promise I will help others get out of it. And so that's why you actually see me, on stage spitting free game. I do my free webinars and stuff. When people ask me for different things, I am just very giving of the information and so forth, because I knew where I came from, and I would not wish that on my enemy, in terms of the struggles that I had to endure with regards to just not having enough money and not knowing where I was going to lay my head. And sleeping with roaches. Like, that's probably why I'm skinny now. That I actually lost my appetite,
Yeah.
from doing that. So I'm just keeping it real, because there's some people on this call is going to see this video, and I try to be as transparent as possible and let people know this is literally where I came from. I know their struggle.
Yeah. So y'all got it out the mud.
Got it out the mud, absolutely.
So where are you now?
Right now, we are in Atlanta in one of the 6 homes, or 5, we're gonna say 5.5 homes that we own, thank God. And this is actually a home that my husband and I made a decision to give to Derek's mother. So we're here temporarily.
So y'all went from homelessness, growing up in public assistance, to now owning nearly 6 homes.
Yep.
I want y'all to see, do y'all see how much they talked about the process, and then they just sped over the reward? that speaks to the type of people that y'all are, because so many people just want to talk about what they have, like, and just want to brag about that and speak about that. But y'all spoke to the process. Y'all spoke to what you came out of. because there's so many people who are still coming out of. You know what I mean? So y'all are just like, hey, yep, that's where we are. Yep, yep. So, all right. So, Amber,
Yes.
Dr. Harrison, y'all are on your essentially sixth property.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited about the things that you're doing in Detroit, but it's been a process to where you've gotten there. So, can you educate the people? Do you educate them on this whole real estate thing? Like, I know you said you had this presentation or things you want to discuss, but I'm excited. Like, can we learn? I'm ready to learn. Y'all ready to learn?
Yay! Let's
I'm ready to learn.
Let's learn.
Yes.
Let's see. I sent you the link.
Did you text it to me?
I did text it to you if you're able to pull it up. If not, I can see. I don't know if I can pull it up on me.
Hold on. I can do it. Oh, it's on Canva.
Yep.
Okay. Do y'all hear that though, man? Oh, Ken is here. Hey, Ken. That's awesome. Ken's like,
Hey,
yeah.
Ken.
Okay. So
Listen, and Bougie Banker, she got Derek on the platform before before pre-market movers did. He doesn't really make like public appearances like that. Derek likes to be on the back end.
make sure that y'all tap into the pre-market movers tool on Clubhouse if y'all are. And Amber, I'm gonna need access to be able to show this presentation.
Okay.
So it's just waiting on that. So yes, they said they're ready to learn.
Yay!
How awesome is that? That's cool. Okay, so
I can while I'm giving you access, you can have Derek can go ahead and share out the process.
Okay. And if you guys have any questions, you could just ask the questions. I'll answer any questions that you have as you ask them. But I would say so when me and Amber met, we were renting for at least 5 years before we decided to buy a home. And for the first 3 of those years, we were not even thinking about home ownership. So we met when we were 21, and from 21 to 24, home ownership wasn't even on our mind. It was probably from the next 2 years of that 5 years that we were renting, where we had an opportunity to make additional income because Amber started a business, which was Wicked Weaves, and I was working at a high-paying job where I doubled. I think I may have 2.5x my earned income. So from 56,000 to 125,000 for 2 years straight, I had more than twice as much income that I had before. And what we did was we saved. So we had retirement accounts that were increasing in value because we were educators, and Amber was earning money from her business income, and I was saving money from my earned income, and we had saved a lot of money. Like from my earned income, I was just putting money away. So I was our experience during that time. I would tell Amber, I told her my goal was to save, but I also told her whenever I got my check and she wanted to do something like, like some lavish things, I would tell her that I didn't have the money. Because she knew that I was saving and she knew I had the money, but she also knew that I was going to say I didn't have it because my goal was to save. And at the end of the 2 years that we were just earning and saving, we had over $60,000 to invest. And we took a portion of that money from that investment, and we bought our first home. We were working and living in New York City, but we knew that investing in New York City would be very expensive and probably something that we didn't want to manage for our first home. So we chose to moved to the outskirts of New York City to a place that had more potential for growth and that was easily more affordable for first-time homebuyers, because we were being conservative about investing and growing our investment. So we went to Jersey City, and so it ended up being a very good decision for us because the New York City market was increasing at a very rapid rate. And at the time that we were going to jump into it in 2015, it was already very high in its value. And when we went to Jersey City, right on the outskirts of New York City, we went to a place that had not reached its peak yet. So when we got there, it was one of the fastest growing real estate markets before we got there. Like when we got there, it started growing at a very fast rate. And we saw the benefits right away, and it never stopped of investing in home ownership.
That's good. So y'all were able to, I just wanted to highlight, I'm over here in the chat like, they did what, y'all? They did what? They budgeted and they saved. Like I'm really trying to emphasize that everybody wants to use what they need to try to build wealth, but you have to budget, you have to save, you have to make a plan, and then you have to execute on that plan. So I'm just like, I'm over here hyping that y'all did that. That's amazing.
And I want to add well, because during that time, it was just a very unique time for us. Derek was making a lot of money, and then my business had just taken off. And so I was seeing like 5 figures per month. We did not change our lifestyle during that time. And so we had a son, and, we had already lived in our 1-bedroom apartment. I think at that time we was paying $1,400 a month. And despite us, being able to afford a 2-bedroom or what have you, we still maintained that 1-bedroom until we were ready to move out of that home. And we just did some in New York, you can pretty much get away with it. Like that's part of the culture. But we had a big living room, and we divided the living room to create a space for my son. And so that's what allowed us also to kind of save our money. Like as soon as we came into an influx of overflow, when it came to the income that we were earning, we didn't rush out to go spend and buy X amount of stuff or what have you. We just continued to save.
So y'all were strategic. You lived within and or below your means.
Way below.
Because the income suggested that y'all should be doing X, Y, and Z, but you made a plan for that money. So instead of changing how you were living, you changed how you invest. And that's a gem right there. So we have, I hope y'all are listening. If y'all are listening, be like, I'm listening, sis, okay? When I get that money, that income tax, or I get that bonus, I'm not going to go out and do all this extra stuff. I'm going to change how I invest, not change my expenses, right? And so I really want to get into your presentation that you created here. So you can let me know when to click through, and I got you. But we've got a good audience who's ready to learn.
All right, cool. And Raquel, can you let me know how much time we have?
Oh, you're good.
Okay, cool.
I'm on your time.
Today's presentation, we're going to share the strategies that we use, the traditional strategies that we use to invest in homes. And Derek, I thank you for sharing the fact that we were basically saving, our money, because he was the most I could get out of Derek at that time was 5 cheesecakes when we went to the Cheesecake Factory, and he wasn't spending anything else. I thought. So that's the most I can get out of him. But it led to us really it put us on the path to being, to managing a $2 million, estimated nearly $2 million real estate portfolio, and being really close, becoming millionaires. So I have to give a shout out to Derek. He really just following his.
Let me just get one cheesecake, y'all. Let me just get one.
like 5 cheesecakes and taking it to work and giving it to my friends because that was my way of overcompensating for the fact that I couldn't get the red bottoms and stuff. So I was just like, all right, I get my second favorite thing, cheesecake, literally. Um, so Raquel, you mentioned a alarming statistic, right? That by 2053, the Black wealth will be at zero. And I'm telling you, because Raquel was like, we're gonna do this thing at I really want this presentation. I'm not ready. Like I'm not ready to do it. But I'm glad you mentioned that statistics. I just did like a doc. I wrote up a document for this organization, and I had pulled up that stats. And now I see why you believe that there's a sense of urgency, right, to get this information out there, even if I don't have it all figured out. Hopefully some of you all will be able to take this information that we're going to share with you and maybe even be more strategic than I was with regards to buying a house for $1,200. So let's get it. You can go ahead and slide.
Here we go.
Uh,
So yeah,
talk about I know I was broke. I went to Spelman, but I had to get it out the mud. Broke, alone, homeless, all of that, y'all. So for those of you guys that's on this chat that maybe think that tomorrow's not looking bright, I came out of you. I went from sleeping with the little roaches and stuff to like having 5 houses and they don't even dare touch my house anymore. So if I can get it out the mud, you can too. And there's really, I'm just really, really determined and hardworking. And when people give me a strategy and the rules to follow, I follow it and apply it. We can keep it going, Raquel. I just put that up there, Atlanta Hartsfield Airport. Every time I go there, it serves as a reminder of where I came from. We can keep going. All right. So what you're looking at here is some of the things that I've been able to accomplish in terms of just being hardworking, not doing anything special, graduate from college, saving my money. Derek and I started off making $40,000 a year, right? But I would literally save my money, and that lended itself to me opening up a business that lended itself to me being on TV. This white guy with the wig, that's Jimmy Kimmel. And so I was able to like get on his little Judge James show. It was really cool. I got flued out to Hollywood. Um, if you are watching VH1 right now, they have a new, the Basketball Wives of Los Angeles just came out with Duffy. So if you look here, that's me posed next to Duffy. She hosted my grand opening for WikiLeaks Dallas, so that was really cool. This picture is of me just signing on one of the houses. This is the second house. This is when I realized that Derek and I and my family were really into the real estate business, because I never thought I would. Seriously, I never grew up in a house. I would go to my grandmother's house, but I never thought that I would own a house. Nevertheless, two at that time. And when we purchased our second house, I cried. Because it was really surreal, right? The first house we purchased was like a townhome, but the second house was literally a house with a backyard, neighbors, different floors, and so forth. And I literally could not believe that my husband and I generated enough income that would afford us to have an opportunity to live in this house. Because when I would ask my mom growing up, how come we don't live in a house? She made it seem as though it was very difficult to obtain. She also was like, oh, people that live in homes can afford to live in homes. So there was a lot of myths around the the opportunity that people of color have with getting a house. And I hope that by our presentation today, that we're able to dispel those myths and provide to you all the resources you need in order to get you all interested and invested into the ideal of actually owning your house. And if you own a house, then jumping into owning another one and another one and another one and another one. And so the picture of the bus is the real estate tour that Derek and I did, where we took a group of people from New York, New Jersey area and brought them into Ohio and Detroit to get them to pique their interest in, investing in real estate. And we plan on doing more tours in the future.
That's
Keep
awesome.
going.
Yay.
And we on the bus too. We on the bus. All right, so let's get to it. So we're going to talk about jumping into real estate, particularly in Detroit.
All right, girlfriend.
There discovered, and shout out to my sister-in-law, Precious Harrison. She's thebomb.com. Shout out to her because she's the one that put us on to investing into real estate in Detroit. But before we get into that, I'm going to pass the mic over to my lawfully wedded husband so that he can share some of the strategies that we use to initially invest in real estate. And this is important too because some people might not be interested in buying a house for $1,200 because it does require work.
Okay. So I guess the question is why real estate? I mean, I think, a lot of people understand that real estate is really a store of value, a hedge against inflation, a store of wealth, and a hedge against inflation. So when the value of your money decreases over time, like I remember when I was a kid, I used to like this this candy, this cake called Star Crunch, and it was 25 cents.
Yes.
And then it doubled to 50 cents. Then I saw it at 75 cents. And I'm like, what? But I didn't understand inflation at the time. And that's and a lot of people don't, that their money, the value of their money will continue to decrease. But real estate is considered one of those things that, one of those assets that they consider to be shell assets that increase with the value of inflation, and it's a hedge against it. So as the value of money decreases, there are certain assets that increase in value to match the amount of money that's printed to keep up with the value with the money that the government is printing. So when you invest in real estate, it's like having a bank account that maintains its value over time, regardless of whether or not the value of your money, cash money, decreases. So you'll see your house value. Our house in Jersey City was growing at 12% a year. And if you understand the rule of 72, then you know that in business or in investing, the rule of 72 says if you divide the interest of your asset growing at a certain rate, if you divided 72 by that number, it takes that number of years to double. So our house in Jersey City was growing at 12%. If you divide 72 by 12, that'll give you 6. And so we bought the house at $294,000, and the value of that home is now $600,000 6 years later. And yeah, and we used the growing value of that home to invest in our second home. So we took some of the equity, the difference in value of that home, to purchase the second home. We first bought it, and then we put the money down on the principal of the loan that we used to buy it, so that we can make the house more affordable. And that's how we got our second home. And we used the same market analysis strategy. For the second home that we had when we thought about how to pick our first home. And that was, let's find a house that we know that we can clearly see has a lot of value potential and that we think is undervalued at its current market level, and we know it's going to grow over time. And that's how we both decided, because me and Amber actually have very different views on how to pick our investments. It's becoming more and more like alike as we go over time, as we understand each other better. But initially we had very different views on investing, but we always agreed on the houses that we got. because because we were looking at one thing and one thing only, and that is the potential. What is the likelihood of this house growing in value over time compared to the other houses around it. And so we were very strategic about that, and we chose the second house based off that same market analysis. And it did the exact same thing that the first house did. So we were very strategic in it, and we picked well, because the second house continued to grow at the very same rate. And so those, yeah.
I'm sorry, continue, Derek.
Okay. So I see that. Okay. And then
I didn't want to rush you. I just,
go ahead.
No. You can.
Okay.
Actually, I'm wondering if I gave you the right one. You can just skip that next slide.
Okay, you sure?
You can keep going.
Well, y'all take
yes, keep going.
Take a screenshot. Okay.
There we go.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure we were staying, and I didn't want to miss the
absolutely.
He was saying.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what this says, 90% of people who achieve millionaire status have done so through real estate. Very true. How does real estate create millionaires? I explained it a little bit, and when I talked about the first and the second home and the rule of 72. And I also spoke about it as well through how real estate is a hedge against inflation. And that is how real estate millionaires are created, because real estate allows you to create streams of revenue that you would otherwise not have, through means that, if you are very savvy and understanding it, or if you can be in touch with someone who's savvy, they can tell you how to tap into it. And that is through equity, through rental income, through tax deductions, through various ways that you can use a home to create value in that home. And particularly for us, we used our homes as a bank. So we were able to make new investments as we went into the future of home ownership, not necessarily through saving money or having more earned income, but we used our homes as a bank to pull equity from those homes to create new opportunities to invest more. And so that's, that kind of goes into that, how millionaires are created is because they use the value of the real estate to create new opportunities for wealth, growth, and potential.
Okay, so thank you for sharing that. That was actually, you shared a lot, because you were saying wealth is built through equity, it's built through rental payments, and a few other things as well. So I hope that y'all caught that. Amber sent me a different one that she wanted me to use for this one, so I'm just going to try to catch up on the slides real quick.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
There we go. Yeah, you keep going.
Okay, here we go. All right, take it away.
Yeah, so how can you get to the bag in real estate? I mean, there are a lot of ways. This list is not limited to this list, but you can engage in fix and flips, where you buy a home, you fix it, and then you flip it by reselling it. You can buy a home and you can hold on to it and rent it out. You can wholesale, where you own a contract to a home and you sell it, and you get the difference between the value the person who's selling it wants to sell it for and the value you can get someone to buy it for. So there will be a gap in the price that someone wants to sell it for versus the price you want to sell it for, and you can earn the money between that by wholesaling the home. And you don't have to own it to do that. You can just have a subject to agreement with the person who does own the home. You can also have rental income. You can rent the home out, and then you can also use land banks. This is not an exhaustive list. You can do other things in real estate, but these are a few. Did we lose Raquel? Is she still here?
She has to be still here if her show is still going on. Raquel, can you go to the next slide? If not, I wanted to just share with the renting. I feel like this is a really good time that we're in with regards to renting out your home, because there's just so many ways that, or so many people, companies, and organizations that you can rent out to. One thing, like Derek and I, we don't do Airbnb just because we really just don't have the time to do it. But one cool thing that we were able to kind of just really just take advantage of this opportunity was in December, when we rented out the second home that we bought to a insurance company. And that was probably one of the biggest deals, I would say, that we closed on with regards to um, kind of stepping outside of renting to tenants and, you know, enter into a contractual agreement with the business who was able to give us a significant amount in comparison to what we had originally listed the renting price, or in comparison to what we had initially listed for the rent for that home. And so if you all have, I know some people are afraid to rent their homes out to to, you know, regular citizens, because maybe you're afraid that they may not pay their rent on time. But you can also look into renting out your house. I know for us, one of our properties being rented out to an insurance company. I have a friend who rented out his property to traveling nurses. And I have another friend whose mother became a millionaire from buying homes and renting it out to people who are on Section 8. So there are so many different strategies that you can use, and that's important. But when I jump into, you know, my strategy with the Detroit Land Bank homes. Okay, you can skip that one, Raquel. All right, there you go, D.
Okay. So we talked about a few things in the previous slide. So this is kind of just like a recap of some of the things that we talked about. We talked about location. We said we invested. The first home was in Jersey City. The second home was in Newark, New Jersey. The third home was in Decatur, Georgia, and the fourth home was back in Newark, and then now the fifth home is in Detroit. And we strategically chose those locations based off of our market analysis that I spoke about earlier. And that's in terms of when you think about the key factors that play a role in picking the strategies, location is a part of it. Then you have expenses that you have to pay that goes along with the real estate that you buy. You have to consider your resources, the time, the money, the people, and the credit that you have. And then you have to think about your goals, which would be cash flow and capital gains, as well as equity. So that's just a little bit of a recap on some of the things that we talked about earlier.
Let me ask y'all, is this helpful? Are y'all getting value so far? If y'all are getting value so far, show them some love in the chat. If you're watching the replay, show them some love. Let them know one thing that you've learned so far, or a new idea that's popped in your head so far that you haven't thought about before.
Mm-hmm. And if you have a question, ask a specific question that you think you can gain value from, of something that we said that you may or may not have understood.
Yes, and then also for those of you asking questions in the chat, I'll be sure to highlight them. And once we finish the presentation, I'm going to go back in and get a few of them answered for you. Okay, so make sure you guys. I can hear myself. Okay, make sure you guys follow Ratchet Assets on Instagram. That's your real estate bae, okay? And then make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. This is where all of the interviews are going to be from here on out. I'm not doing IG lives anymore. They will all be through YouTube. I love the interactiveness of it. I love how you're able to share. I love everything about it. So this is where it'll be from now on. So make sure you subscribe for future lives, okay? All right, let's get back to the presentation. Thank you for this brief commercial break. All right.
Really briefly, I know in the chat, Tamika asked if we use property managers, and we did not. we will get to that point, but we don't. The property that we have, we were very. They were intimate. They were like we owned the first home, we rented it out, and I was basically the property manager of that first home. And then we moved out of the second home. I was a property manager there. My mother lived in the third home. They didn't really need a property manager. And the fourth home, Amber moved in some people that she knew there, and that property needed to be managed. We managed that one. She managed that property.
Yeah.
And the property in Detroit is what she's gonna get into. That's a whole nother story.
That's a whole nother story, and I'm still gonna have to figure it out. I think if Ken is on the line, he's gonna be my property manager.
Love this bad boy. All right, so we can able to answer the question.
Yeah, you can move on from that slide, I think.
Mm-hmm. I do want to address a myth, right? Because I run into so many people who are like, "Ooh, girl, I don't want to invest in real estate because I don't have time to be dealing with my tenants, right? I don't have time to have people calling me and stuff." But then I'm just like, well, when you go to work, how often do people bug you about not doing a task or doing something on time, right? And so if you run into somebody, or if you're one of those individuals that have that mindset, you know, please just try your best to kind of just, you know, remove yourself from thinking that way. Because honestly, I would rather, like, in our years of renting out our property, Derek have had to deal with one bad tenant, but they were still paying the rent on time, and he would get so upset. He was like, and I'm like, Derek, but they only reach out to you like once every 2 months, right? You know, and you're generating income from it.
Whoever it is, he is over them. He's like,
but when you're thinking about how much, like, that particular property is worth the double the amount. So I'd rather face someone reaching out to me once every 2 months. The tenants that I have now, they reach out to me like once every 3 or 4 months. If you really think about that and put that into perspective, right? Like, if we continue to build, you know, and continue to expand our portfolio, we would literally be putting in less hours than we would put in working a job, a 40-hour, you know, work commitment.
Let me say something really quick before we go, and I want Amber to get to this why Detroit very quickly, but I do want to say, because you mentioned those tenants, and they were it was not once every 2 months, it was like once every 2 weeks, and and they were very scary because I was like, they're gonna sue us. I was out in my head, I was like, they're gonna sue. It caused me to do more research and figure out how to protect our assets.
Yep.
And it actually, the challenge that you face as you continue to invest and grow will make you grow as an investor.
That's what I was just about to say, because of the learning lessons that you all had creates a curve for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when y'all, I can't tell you how much I've been on Amber about, like, girl, you need a course, you need a course, you need a course.
Yes.
Of course, Amber. But she's gonna be able to take all of these learning lessons that her and Dr. Harrison, her husband, have gone through and create a curve for all of you. Right? Because he was, man, and it was getting on my nerves. And I was worried that we were going to get sued. So I went and protected myself by doing this, which is something that you might not learn until you get a tenant that is just like the tenant that they had. But because they went through that learning curve, went through that lesson, now you get the benefit of having the learning curve, because they're going to tell you how to prevent any type of situations from happening because they went through that experience. So.
Absolutely. Yes. And there was a person who asked a question, like, what if something happens at 2:00 in the morning? There are 24-hour services. I've had that happen where the water pipes burst at 2:00 in the morning, and I was able to reach out to a 24-hour service. So there's always someone out there that specializes in whatever services you need provided to your house. You can also get a warranty. Even though the warranty I had was horrible, But there are other warranty programs out there that you can use and rely on when you run into an issue with your house. So it's really not as scary, and you pay like $40 a month.
I'll say this: it's more scary not to invest in real estate than it is to invest.
Yes.
I was listening to Grant Cardone, and he was like, I hear people complaining about problems about, oh man, I got to deal with these tenants, or I got to fix this refrigerator, I got to fix this washing machine. And he said, man, I love those problems. You know how Grant, I don't know if you guys know how Grant Cardone talks. He's like, man, I love those problems. I want 10 of those problems. I want to 10x my problems. Because you would rather have problems on the asset side than on the liability side.
Yes. Oh, let me drop that.
Let me find out. Derek need to get an Instagram page and start hosting. We can call it the 20X conference. All right. Let me find out.
You said on the asset side than the liability side? Is that what you said?
Absolutely.
I would rather have those problems.
Yes. Come through, Dr. Harrison.
Just not every 2 weeks, huh?
That's enough.
All right. So we're gonna jump into it. Why Detroit, y'all? So, and Derek, I'm gonna snitch on you a little bit, all right? But it's not to throw you under the bus.
Nope, we can talk about it. We can talk.
We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it. I wish my sister-in-law was here because she's the reason why I decided to invest in Detroit. Derek's sister, she's a phenomenal person, and I think she's really the person who really needs to speak on it because she, in my opinion, represents the average person who thinks that they cannot jump into a home. Right now with Derek and myself, and I try to be as transparent, like we started off, we had money saved in our accounts and all this other stuff, and that kind of just made it our journey with real estate was a little bit easier than what most people, would normally experience. But then you have Derek's sister.
Can I speak about that really quick? I don't think it was easier because if you remember, when we were in our humble beginnings, we invested in our education. So we started very early. We started earlier than people to get to the point that we were at.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Derek. I stand corrected. But you have your sister, right? And I'm not gonna put all of her business out there, but I will say this, and I think she would be okay with me sharing this, is that she's a single mother. She has 2 kids, right? And then she was making average salary. And so for someone like her who lives in New York City where the properties are overvalued, overpriced, and then New Jersey started, picking up in terms of the prices of the homes being overvalued and overpriced as well, her children went up to her and was like, Mom, like, we want to live in a house. And she started looking at places that was affordable, right? And she came across Detroit. And God bless her, shout out to her. She would, and when I do my course, I'm going to make sure she's a part of it. She would drive, like every time she got lump sum, she would save her money as well, right? And I saw the way that she spent her money change, over time. And just around this time, maybe 2 years ago, she came across a lump sum of money. She was also saving the money she was making from working. And every time she had a certain amount, she would travel back and forth to Detroit to work on her home, right? And now she went from literally not having any assets to having 2 assets, both worth around $200,000 and no mortgage on it, right? So you're talking about a single mother who in New York City, the chances of her getting a home on the salary that she was getting would probably be slim to none unless she married somebody that was like rich or making a certain amount of money. But she was really determined to change the trajectory of her children's future. And as a result, bought one home for $1,000, fixed it up, then turned around and bought another home for $1,000. And like that first home she bought for $1,000 was way better than mine. Is worth over $100,000.
I think you're on mute.
Am I on mute?
No.
Oh, Raquel.
Wait a minute. You said she bought 2 properties for $1,000. Did you say she bought 2 properties for $1,000?
She bought one property for $1,000 and turned around and bought another property for $1,000, maybe $1,100.
It's some of y'all watching that have $1,000 right now, and you thinking about
Yes.
buying some clothes, some shoes, doing something you have no business doing with that money, and people are out here buying properties. Okay.
Huh?
And that's it. And so when people say I can't do it, I'm like, nah, you gotta talk to my sister-in-law. Like, you have to, like, working mom. And every time she had a break, weekends off, she would travel out there and fix her house. And I think she only put about $20,000 to the first house. Unlike me, right? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna do the same thing. And I didn't end up with the house as well put together as hers, but I am blessed by the experience. If you can put up the slideshow.
Right over here.
So the key factors.
I'm talking again. I'm excited. You just got us all
Thank
excited.
you.
The ladies in BBU.
No, I'm excited too, because I feel like I've been hazed by these Detroiters or what have you. I think that's why I give Ken a hard time.
The ladies who are in BBU, Bougie and Balanced University, they are all going through growth processes, right? Like, as we know, as you all know, a financial journey is also a personal development journey. And so with over 60% of adults who don't even have $1,000 that are put aside, people are working towards getting that. And every single year, people get their money back from taxes that they've worked hard. It's their money, and they do what? They go buy furniture, they pay for vacations, they do all of these things, and you can do what you're talking about, right, through land banks and stuff like that, and take $1,000, $1,200, $1,500, whatever. Y'all, that's minuscule as an initial investment into a property. Because one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki says, let me put this thing right 1 second. One of the things that Robert Kiyosaki says is that most people look at their initial home purchase as an investment. When they're like, okay, I'm going to buy this home, I'm going to live in this home, and I'm going to pass this home down to the next generation. But they're only thinking about that one home purchase, right? And he said the problem with that is that the home, when you buy the first one, and that's like you just buy that one house and you're looking at that as your investment, is 9 times out of 10 a liability. Because not thinking about the aspect of putting another family in the house, having recurring income off of that, right? They're not thinking about it from that. They're thinking about it from, this is my space that I'm living in. And what I find so interesting is some of our most wealthiest people don't own a home that they live in. They own homes that they invest with. Right. And so for you to be able to take that and say, yeah, like, okay, yeah, I know next income tax season, it's on and popping, because I know I'm gonna have me $1,000, $1,200, $1,200 or whatever. Or maybe you have that put aside and you just don't know what to do with it, or maybe you've been burned by other areas of investing. You're like, okay, I think I can put the time in, the education, the study, right, to learn how to do this and start building this type of portfolios for yourself. It's got me all excited. Y'all got me all sweating and stuff. I'm hyped. Okay, let me put the screen back up.
I have to thank you too, Raquel, because I'm like, I don't know. But I'm really, as I'm going through this, I really do see the importance of just putting this out there, because I'm going to talk about my journey in terms of purchasing home. Purchasing a home for $1,200 in Detroit, but this is not the only place where you can get homes that's like dirt cheap. And so hopefully you'll take this strategy and look for places near you and take that leap of faith and jump into real estate investment. So one of the reasons why I decided to go to Detroit, there's a lot of factors that played a role. One, my sister-in-law took the initiative, jumped, and she was like, you got to do it. And it took months before I bought into it, because I was like, heck nah, like, if you go to Detroit, it's not, it's different, it's really different. But after going out there, supporting my sister-in-law on her journey, I became more comfortable with the city. It just so happened that the people that I share the stage with on a consistent basis, pre-market movers, Ken, Clayton, Emmett, I don't know if they're here. They're from Detroit. And so they were actually able to help me navigate the city. And so what I will say is when you're jumping into a different market that you're not familiar with, it helps a lot to know somebody that's out there, whether it's a family member, a friend, or someone that's very reputable who can kind of like guide you through the process. And Ken, Emmett, and Clayton have been instrumental and my sister, because she did it first. She was able to, give me some contractors to work with. They have been really instrumental in me being able to come very close to coming to compliance with my house in Detroit. The second thing that influenced my decision to invest in Detroit was the market, right? I was just talking to my best friend today, and she was saying that the average cost of a home in Atlanta is $500,000. Right now, she said last month it was $450,000, and she was like, right now it's $500,000. She's a real estate agent in Atlanta. Then when you look at, and I don't have the updated numbers, but I know when I recently, probably like a couple of months ago, did a similar presentation, the national average cost of a home in the United States is around $350,000, right? But then you go to a city like Detroit, that's a major city, right? Like, am I bugging, or is Detroit not a major city? Like, even though like it's a major city, right? But then you find homes in Detroit. I bought my house for $1,200, but you can get a house that's ready to move in at the time that I bought my house for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $60,000 to $70,000 multifamily, right? So these homes are priced way below the market. And even if you decided to take the traditional route to purchase a home in Detroit, you're looking at paying maybe like $5,000 down, right? If you decided, hey, I don't want to buy a house for $1,200 and worry about fixing it up because I don't feel like doing that. There's a lot of opportunity to jump into the real estate market without it being such a high risk, especially if you're connected with the right people. What made me decide to go the auction route is because Derek and I had over leveraged, right, our credit. So when you go to traditional route, there's only but so much debt they'll let you take out to buy a home, right? And so even when we purchased a home in Atlanta, we had to purchase it cash. And in purchasing I wanted to purchase more homes in different areas, but I didn't. I basically was over leveraged, right? And so I had to figure out another way to acquire a home. And this is where being creative takes place. I was able to get this home with cash. On top of getting it with cash, right? I have a certain amount of time to fix the home up, and which to me, now knowing the process, was very reasonable. And the Detroit Land Bank, they're very understanding. Like if I wasn't able to meet those deadlines, I was able to tell them like, hey, I still need more time to do X, Y, and Z. And of course, people. But the major reason why I stepped into the Detroit market was because I wanted more cash flow. So the homes that Derek and I own in New Jersey, we get it on the back end, right? In terms of it saved us on taxes, right? Because at that time, my husband and I was making a significant amount of money in education. So if you have some teachers in here, if you want to make some real serious money in education, go to New York. They pay well. So we was making serious money in education. And so, of course, we are making, I'm going to put it out there, maybe like $250,000, combined income on top of whatever else we was getting from, our assets and businesses and so forth. Uncle Sam want to tax you. And so the cool thing about investing in the real estate market is that you get tax deductions. And we was getting that, and we were also earning the equity, but we wasn't getting that much cash flow because, we had to pay back the money in terms of mortgage. So it wasn't that much cash flow that we were seeing. And so with us venturing out into the Detroit market, I'm going to see more cash on a month-to-month basis than I would see, with the properties that we own here in the New Jersey, Atlanta area. Yeah, you can skip it. Go to the next one.
That's awesome. Y'all are learning a lot, y'all. This could have been a charge class.
And it's important too, because when people one of the myths that people have when they invest into real estate is they think about the money that they earn in rental, like in rental income, and that's cool. But the real money comes from the equity that you get on the back end in terms of your house appreciating. That's where the real money comes in. The cash flow is great, but the real money, that what gets me excited is knowing that I bought a house for $300,000, right, and only had to put, 30,000 to leverage it. But if I was to sell it, I'll get back $300,000. That's what really gets me excited. So that appreciation piece is what makes it really cool. And also, if you make a certain amount, maybe you don't have any kids or whatever, and you're getting taxed, just the ability to just save on how much you have to pay the government. On that ends up being more than how much you would get in rental income per year, depending on where you invest in. So I just want to put that out there. I'm going to go quickly over traditional limitations. So when you go the traditional way and buying a house, the banks ask you, are you coming as an investor? Are you buying a vacation home or primary residence? You also have to have fair to excellent credit score. You have to show 2 years of employment. You have to show proof of funds, and you have to have a low to income debt ratio. And so those requirements sometimes get in the way of us, especially particularly people of color, being able to jump into the real estate game, right? Either they don't have the income, or the consistency of jobs, the credit score, or even just a lump sum, to jump into it. So if you're an individual who wants to really jump into the real estate market, you may really want to consider buying a house from the land bank, because you don't have to nearly of come up with as much money. You may have to pay like 30,000 over time, right? But paying 30,000 over the course of a couple of years is different than having to pay 30,000 lump sum, especially in this market where the value of houses continue to rise and where the interest rates are rising. So now you're really working against time.
Yeah, when I think about buying a house from the Detroit Land Bank, to me, I think about, because this is just by the way that I grew up, you're buying a house on layaway. You're basically
Yeah.
you're basically putting a little bit of money down on the house to get an equity interest in it and control over it. But you can't have it yet until you use your money over time to invest in getting it to a point where the land bank says, okay, we don't have to have an equity interest in it anymore. You can have it. It's yours. And that takes just understanding what the contract is between you and the land bank, and following it as you get your money, following the steps that they ask you to take to use that money over the course of time. And they extend the time as long as you're following their requirements to then
Insurance
turn the
progress.
property over to you, that you put on layaway.
And even with layaway, you don't have access to the property, right? But with the Detroit Land Bank, you actually do get to live in the property, do whatever you want in the property. But you do have to make sure that the property is livable. And when they say livable, it's not even like you have to do all this extra stuff. You just need to make sure you have the main things there working. And in order for them to be like, okay, you fully on this property now. And if I had to do it over again, like the property that I bought for $1,200, it needed everything: a roof, it needed a floor, like it needed plumbing, electricity, and stuff. Whereas the second property that I placed my bid on, like, it doesn't need all that stuff, right? So you want to be smart about the properties that you purchase, so that you don't have to put $40,000 or $50,000 into it. You could be like my sister-in-law, her property just needed walls, right? Which isn't, it might seem intimidating now, but that's nothing compared to what I have to do to get my property up to par. And some more limitations when you are purchasing a property is that you may have to get a hard money lender, or just get a loan in general, and these companies want you to take out a loan for 50 plus or more, when the house might not even cost that much. So there are definitely there's definitely a lot of benefits from, especially if you're on a budget and you don't have access to a large lump sum of money, or maybe you do have access to a large lump sum of money, but you don't want to use it like that. The land bank route is definitely a route to go. Yeah, you can continue, Raquel. So I do want to point out that if you decide to go the traditional route, if the
Oh, Amber, your mic's muffled. Amber, your mic's muffled.
can you hear me?
Yeah, that's much better. Thank you.
Okay. If you decided to take the traditional route in purchasing a home, with the national average cost being around 350,000, as an investor, so this is the down payment as an investor, right? I would have to put down 15% of 30,000, and 15% of 30,000 is about $40,000, right? I mean, yeah, not 15% of 300,000 is around like $40,000. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then if you get a multifamily, they want 25% down. So you're talking about a lot of money that you have to put down unless you're an owner occupant. And then as an owner occupant, you have to put down 3.5%. And so that's a little bit less. But imagine just having to put down $1,200 for a house that you have access to, and then over time, right, not having to worry about the house being too expensive for you to carry the note on, and not having to worry about interest rates going up. You have control of the how much it would cost to get your house up to par. So when you're considering which means you want to take, especially if you don't have the funding right now to buy a house, it is the land bank route is perhaps the most feasible route to go in. I'm not a financial advisor. It's perhaps the most feasible route to go in, considering the type of market that we're in right now.
And Amber, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a land bank for every state, right?
Just about, yep. There's one. I wanted to do a real estate tour. I was going to try to do one for our pre-market movers event. But
yes,
yeah,
on Friday, June 9th through the 12th. If you're in the Atlanta area, or if you would like to attend virtually, let us know. But I will be doing a session on budgeting and money management, and Amber will be doing a session on real estate. And we have a women's panel, and it's going to be Lawrence, aka the Panther, and a whole bunch of other awesome people with pre-market movers. So y'all need to be there.
It's gonna be lit, y'all. Y'all have to come through. And then what I'll do also, if people on this call, if you're from the Atlanta area or you're somewhere close, I would give you a discount for the next tour that I do, like a significant discount. Because I wanted to do a tour to Macon. That's an hour out, and it is important for those people who really want to generate wealth and jump into real estate investing. If you're not able to get it how you live it in your own city, then you have to go out and look for other places where you can jump into real estate without it costing you an arm and a leg.
Yes, it pays to be a bougie baddie. Yay, we got the
hookup. Yes.
Okay, let's move to the next slide. Yes, thank you, Amber. Awesome.
Yeah, so why land bank? I went over that already. If you are able, so with the land bank in Detroit, and everybody runs their land banks differently. Like they have one in Toledo, Ohio, and I still kick myself to this day. Because last summer I was in Toledo. They had a house for $4,000, right? Which is like dumb cheap compared to the houses in Detroit that was $1,200 because I didn't have to do that much work for it, right? Like with the house in Detroit, I had to add a roof, I had to add floors, I had to get electrical work done. With the one in Toledo, the electric, everything was working. I just had to get some new walls, and they also provided a grant for $15,000 to replace the roof. I'm still looking at myself, huh?
They're just giving you the house.
Yeah, they were just literally, and I'm just like, I still look at myself today. Like the house was literally like $3,950. They was literally in a historic district, you guys, and the houses next to it were going for like 200,000. I still have no idea why I didn't jump on that opportunity. I think I was scared or what have you, but there's no reason to be afraid. Like I just feel like if you have it in you to invest, and where there's a will, there's a way. You will create the opportunity for yourself to make sure that things get done the way you need it to get done. So there are definitely land banks. All land banks are not the same. One thing I do appreciate about the Detroit land bank, some of the houses may be really rough, but they provide you with a lot of pictures and stuff to help you determine whether or not you want to make that investment. And they have like an auction means of you being able to purchase the home. Whereas I believe in Macon, you don't have to go through an auction. It's like an application process. Toledo, it was just an application process. You just have to show proof of funds. And I have means of, I can give you a resource that you can use to show proof of funds or what have you, because we all know that you may not have the proof of funds right then and there, but you can, with the land bank property, they give you a certain amount of time to get the house into compliance in order for you to be able to get the deed to it. All right. So why land bank? Because you can buy a house for as low as $1,000, and I don't care what type of y'all. I don't care what type of condition the house is in. When you compare it to what houses are going for in this market, I had people reaching out to me to buy my house before it was even finished. Like the real investors out there that's about their life. You have all these big institutions, Zillow, who else? I forgot what it's called. It's called Black something. What's that?
BlackRock.
Yeah, you have all these companies, big institutions that are investing in real estate. After a while, you're not gonna be able to invest anymore because you have these big institutions that's doing so. And so, even if you buy a Mystic house for $1,000, like you still got a house for $1,000, whether it's fixed up to your liking or not. People were blowing my phone up to purchase my house. So even if I didn't want to fix it up, I still could have turned a profit. I put it like that. I could have bought it for $1,000 and turned like a $20,000 or $30,000 profit without even fixing it up.
That's huge. Regardless, as long as she could secure the property, she could have still flipped it. Now they're after the equity, right? So it would behoove her to fix up the property and then therefore take advantage of the true value of the property, right? Opposed to just buying the property and then selling it off to some company. Because there's a couple of goals here, right? Creating Black wealth, generational wealth, showing others that it's possible. Because if she wanted to just be greedy and be like, oh, yeah, let me just buy this couple of properties, I'm gonna flip them for $10,000, $20,000 and then be on her way. What good would that do for the community? What good would that do for her showing others, right? And all of that. So you showing us that it's possible is huge. And I don't know if y'all heard her, but she said that she would give us access to a list. What was it called? The something list? You said something.
The God, which list was it? Was it the land bank resources?
It was somebody better caught it. If you caught it, put it in the chat because I just remembered in a minute.
Yeah, remind me because I have so many lists.
It was something pound. I can't remember.
Well, I don't remember the list either.
It's something. Oh Lord, what was it?
What did it have to do with? Because it was a couple of lists. Was it to? Derek, you remember the list I said? Oh my gosh, we gotta round it back. I owe y'all a list, and I forgot what it is.
And I was just about to ask him to put it in the chat too. I think it's
It'll come to mind. Was it It would come to mind. Was it? It wasn't to lenders. I didn't get to that yet.
It was for the funds. Something for the funds.
Proof of funds.
Proof of funds. Yes. I would tell you. Yes, I would tell you how you can get a letter. Yes, I would tell you how you can get a letter, right? Because there are some land banks that y'all have to remind me of that because I'm going to send you a link, right? And you're going to thank me. It's this girl, she's the go. Her name is Ashley Hamilton. She charges $9.99. Okay. Now If y'all complain about spending $9.99 to get access to funds, then you don't need to be on this call. You want to get the access. She's going to give you a letter that will show, that would basically tell the banks like, hey, this person has proof of funds, like basically a letter saying that they're pre-approved for X amount of dollars, right? Or we're going to give them this amount of money to fix up the house. That's important because when you go to certain land banks, they want to know that that you have the funding to fix it, right? And some of us don't. So how can you show some people, if you have friends, they can show their bank account to prove that, hey, you have the funding or whatnot. But there's, and I think I might even have my own as well. But I know the one that I use is from Ashley Hamilton. This is the plug. She don't even tell people like that. I'm gonna let her know that I told y'all. $9.99 for a letter that you can use to show that you have proof of funds. All right. So I will hand it out, but that's the game, y'all. That is the game in terms of how people are able to maneuver and get these houses for the low and stuff. You have to be connected with the right people that know how to do X, Y, Z to get you to the bag. You're on mute, Raquel. Is she on mute, Derek?
No, I'm always doing that.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay, so proof of funds. I was all excited back here too. Proof of funds list. That's something that we're gonna need, ladies and gents.
Yes.
And so the slide that we're on now are what are some other things you should do before considering purchasing a home? So I know income is definitely one of them. Location. That's something that you and Dr. Harrison discussed. Was looking for locations that had the opportunity, or if you look at the properties that were left and right of it and they had decent, like a good value in comparison to what you were purchasing at home from land bank, and that's like a go, right? And then also determine how much work needs to be done on the house if you're going the land bank route. Is there any other quick like bullet points that we should be looking at before we consider to buy a home?
Yeah, this is so important, and it's something that Derek and I look at. If you go to the next slide, hopefully it's on there if I'm not mistaken. So location, cost to fix it up, ability to meet deadlines, right? You keep going. And then comps. This is so important, okay? Because remember, the name of the game is to not only generate cash flow, but to make sure that your house is going to appreciate. Okay. And this might be another class where I have to just go into it, but I'm just going to share like a little trick that you can use. If you go to Detroit Land Bank, now with Detroit Land Bank, they don't ask for a proof of funds. They just give you the house. You just have to make sure you're able to meet their deadlines. But what I typically do when I'm looking for properties at that's being auctioned from the Detroit Land Bank, my sister-in-law does it as well. We compare the values of the homes in the same neighborhood to the property that we want to purchase. So if I know that I want my home to be valued at $100,000 after it's been fixed, right? And we refer to that as the ARV, after repair value. Then I have to also look at the homes that's around it and see how much those homes are valued at. And the way that you do that is you go to Zillow, you type in the address of your homes, and then you'll instead of looking at homes that's on the market, right? Because your comps aren't based on how much somebody wants to sell their homes for. It's based on how much homes have been sold for in that area. Okay. And that's important. It's not based on Raquel saying, hey, I want to get $1 million for my house, right? It's based on Raquel actually being able to sell her house for $1 million. And so if you buy a house in a neighborhood and your neighbor, and this happened to us, right? Because me and Derek was really excited because that same house that's worth $600,000, the reason why I was able to get to that value is because our neighbor's house right next door to it was put on the market at one point for $900,000, right? But they couldn't sell it for $900,000. So they dropped it to $800,000. They couldn't sell it for $800,000. But we wasn't even tripping because remember we bought a house for $300,000. Then they dropped it to $750,000. And my husband and I was like crossing our fingers. It's literally like a competition. It was crossing our fingers and praying that house sells for $750,000. And if that house sells for $750,000, guess what? then my house can sell for $750. Okay. And so when you're buying a house on an auction, you want to be strategic about the house that you're going to purchase by looking at the homes in the surrounding neighborhood and next to it and seeing what homes were recently sold and how much those homes sold for. And you typically do that by just going on one of those Zillow apps, Trulia, and instead of looking at the homes that's on sale, you're going to look at the homes that were sold and type in the same zip code. All right. That's really important
Can I share a little?
because go ahead, D.
Yeah, so typically when you're looking at homes and you want to do a comparing to see what the after repair value is, you want to, some homes are 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Some homes are 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. Some homes are 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, or 4 bathrooms. You want to look at the number of bedrooms and bathrooms that the homes are valued at, because there's a difference between a 2-bedroom and 1-bedroom house and a 3-bedroom and 2-bedroom house. They will not be valued the same on the market. And if you are getting a home from the land bank, you have the liberty to put as many bedrooms and bathrooms in that house when you fix it up as you need. So you want to get the most bang for your buck when you buy a land bank home by thinking about how many bedrooms and bathrooms does this home need in order for the after repair value to be the highest possible value you can get for that home on the market.
I hope y'all heard
Absolutely.
that.
Make sure, and even if you go
Replay.
for a home somewhere else, you definitely want to make sure you look at the comps.
That's good. You want me to go to the next slide?
Yep. Okay, and then we talked about this. The advantage of getting a home in Detroit is it's a low barrier to entry. You have time on your side, and then the homes are appreciating. Like, King will be mad at me. I don't care. I'm gonna throw it out there because he did it already. Ken bought a house last year for $250,000, right? $250,000, and this year we talk about our property. Our property doubled over the course of 6 years. His property nearly doubled over the course of 1 year. That same house he bought for $250,000 is now worth $400 and some odd $1,000, right? And so there's so many when your house doubles or when they appreciate, you can take that money, the difference between how much it's worth and how much you took out the loan for. You could take a percentage of that money, pull it out, and use it to do other things. So if you had like this big grandiose ideal in terms of starting a business, or let's say you have kids who are going to college, right? Kid can pay for both of his kids to go to college with the equity he accumulated in his home, which is crazy. Like my son don't have to go through what I went through, right? If he want to go to Harvard, hopefully he gets accepted, we can pay his tuition. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the type of moves that people are making when it comes. It's life changing. It is really life changing. That one house, even if you don't look at that house, your house as an investment, just buying a house and living in it can really change the trajectory of your future as well as your children's future if you know what to do with the equity. And one thing about my husband and I, we do have a lot of equity, but we do not play around with it because we realize, even we recently, I'm very transparent, got into an argument maybe a month ago, and I was like, you don't love me anymore because he won't pull out the equity. He would pull out the equity to one of the homes. I was like, I want to go take a vacation to Hawaii and go to Tahi. He looked at me like, are you crazy right now? Like, let's pull the equity out. But one thing I will say,
that's what the course
will be responsible.
We're gonna sell them courses and take that in. And we are gonna go to
Can we get a private jet? Like, listen, I'm trying to live like a Cardone.
Yes, this is wealth talk. I love it. So low barrier.
Real talk, y'all.
Appreciation. All right. So what else?
I think we're almost done. That was pretty much. You can go to the next slide. Just make sure I didn't miss out on anything. Okay, now this would be the last slide, y'all. I knew y'all was gonna have access to this. So if you want to buy a land bank home right now, like literally Google Detroit land bank. That link is gonna come up. right? And you have the options. And I'm gonna end it right here because I know we already went long, but you can he says you can definitely go to Detroit Land Bank. No, you're gonna Google Detroit Land Bank, click on that link, and then you have the option of own it now. Let me see if I can pull it up on my computer. Or maybe Raquel, can you pull it up?
I was on it. Dang, you was gonna ruin my element of surprise.
Oh, I'm bad. I just want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity. She said she was on it.
Yes, I didn't want you ruining my element of surprise.
Yeah, it's right there. There's no excuse. It's easy too. Like these other land banks, they be trying to have you go through a whole like process. This is the easiest way to purchase property. It's no like they ask you for your name, your address, and so you have 3 different options, right? And I can't see it right now, but it's like buy home, buy the lot next to my home. Yeah, you can buy a lot for $100. If you buy a home. So like with the property that I purchased, there's a lot right next door to it. And once I come to compliance, then I can buy the lot for $100, y'all. So I'm gonna put some tiny homes on that lot.
I know that's
right.
right.
So you want to go to okay. So you go to buy home, and then you can. We're not gonna go rehab and ready because you're gonna pay that rehab and ready money, right? You can go to auction, but we had a bad. Okay, so you're gonna go to own it now. So the auctions, those are like the nicer homes. And we tried to buy a house on an auction like maybe last year or so. And that auction got crazy. Like that auction got crazy. And I think Derek, when you try to buy it went up to like 14,000. Right.
Yep.
And he just dropped out of it. But you go to own it now, which is also another auction, but it's a blind auction. And it doesn't get as crazy. So all those properties, y'all, you want to look inside of it.
I'm about
look
to
at the picture.
I got some shopping
to do. Yep.
Yay.
That's basically it. Those are all the properties and stuff. And you do want to take into consideration how much money it would take to fix it up, right? How much time you have to do it. Because some properties are really messed up, but you can look up like my sister-in-law, and her floors were good, her roof was decent. She had to get like the houses had been sitting for about 10 years, so she did have to get like some new plumbing and stuff, but she didn't have to nearly put as much work into her house as I had to. And I want to give a shout out again to my sister-in-law, Emmett, Ken, Clayton. They helped me, they pointed me to some contractors to get stuff done, so I didn't have to pay. Everyone was saying, oh, you're gonna have to pay $100,000, $80,000 to fix up your house. I didn't have to pay nowhere near that amount to get the work done, and I literally just have to add some walls to my house. So I want to say that I'm about $35K in. I think after I'm done, maybe $40K, right? And if I had like really just like that, see, that's not that bad. My house was like crazy, and you guys listen. This look crazy to some people. But that's literally, and that's the other thing too. Watch videos because someone would step in there and be like, "Oh my God, what's that? What's going on?" It is not like that stuff can just really come down. You can replace it with some sheetrock.
The structure. My mom is into this. Like this is what she does as a hobby. And she really loves drywall, electrical, wiring, all that.
Yeah.
Stuff. You would see this and be like, yes, because the structure of the home. If the structure of the home is sound, then you essentially just have a playground, right?
Yep.
Like, so we'll just sweep all this out. We'll just sweep.
Yeah, go ahead.
And just rub all this. You gotta take all that down. Like the structure of the home looks good. Like I'm looking at Ken. Ken's like, look at Ken's
face. Yeah, Ken is bougie, bro. He moved from the east side. It was like, forget y'all. Like Ken,
is that a cold?
He is bougie.
Okay, I'm done. Let me stop being But yeah, that's awesome. I'm so glad that we got to spend this time together. You guys, thank you for hanging out it has been an hour and a half, but this live was so important because it sparked thoughts that you haven't had before, right? It sparked, Ken is laughing. It sparked thoughts that you haven't had before. It introduced a way of investing into properties that you might not have thought of before. And so to go from thinking you need a $20,000, $30,000 down payment, right, to be able to invest, because some of you already own a home, you're like, I want to invest in a second home. You can't take advantage of the FHA and all these type of things. And you've got all these other stressors going on. And then there's this opportunity to invest in homes that need some love, right? But you have the opportunity to take advantage of the profit potential, the equity that can come behind that, and then you can set it up so good to where you can position yourself to buy up the block, right? And just think about what that can do, not only for you with building wealth, but think about what that can do for the next generations, because all that's going to happen is you're going to learn the process, and then you're going to want to show someone else the process. And the more we can turn on more light bulbs, the more we can buy back these forgotten areas and show them the love that they need, and start putting wealth back into the community, and start putting wealth back into our generations, and start fighting this alarming statistic that by 2053 our wealth will be at zero. So Dr. Harrison, Mrs. Dr. Harrison, Amber Lachey of Ratchet.
Yes.
I'm so happy that y'all spent some time with y'all. Can y'all please just drop some hot fire in the chat for them and just tell them thank you so much for spending the time here. I am over the moon, and I'm going to be shooting this in all my emails. And so if you're watching the replay, please let us know. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. This is where all of my lives will be from here on out. Whether it be Instagram or whatever, they're always going to be here because I love this layout. And then please go follow Amber, Miss Amber Lachey on Instagram, right here, Ratchet Assets on Instagram. Please do yourself a favor and follow that. Now, we did have some questions, okay? So I wanted to make sure we answered at least two. Y'all got time to answer 2 questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because they hung out for a while, so I just wanted to make sure that we just answered two of them. Oh, look at all the love. Look at all the love.
Thank you.
Ma'am, you preaching good. Hot interview. Oh, thank you. Raquel's in Canada, so we have some international love going on in here. Okay, so let's see. Raquel asked, she hung out for the whole session. She asked, when doing your analysis to pick the next home for purchase, do you use an algorithm? How exactly do you do your analysis? So could you give us like an overview of that? If you haven't already answered it, but if you have, just kind of a brief.
Yeah, so I can share 3 things that I look at. One thing is, how close is the home that you want to buy? How close is it to major attractions? So Jersey City is closer to Manhattan than Brooklyn. You can get on the train in Jersey City, and in 5 minutes you'll be at the World Trade Center. So when you think about the location that you're choosing in your market analysis, how close is the home that you're choosing near major attractions, and how valuable is the place where you're choosing to people that potentially don't know about it that would live there if they had the opportunity to. That's one thing. The second thing is the comparable homes that we discussed earlier. When you compare in the bedrooms and bathrooms to the surrounding houses, and then you want to look at the price per square foot. So if you're talking about an algorithm, then you're thinking about the price per square foot of your home. So if you're thinking about a 1,200 square foot home that's selling for $300,000, then you can divide the price of the home by the square footage, and you'll get a price per 1 square foot. And if that price per 1 square foot is less than the surrounding homes that are comparable to it, then you found a good deal. I think you're muted.
I'm always muting myself. Okay, because I don't want there's like a staticky sometimes when all of us are unmuted. But anyways, I would say I know some people are just writing their notes down like this, trying to hurry up and catch up. But watch the replay, y'all. Watch the replay. You can catch this, okay? So I hope that answered your question, Raquel. She's with BBU, y'all. Ooh, love BBU. Okay. All right. Another question. How do you get insurance companies to rent?
So with that one, we were lucky, right? We have put our home up for rent on Zillow. And it was funny because so Derek, if y'all ever come across one of his properties, this guy, he's all about the equity. He was gonna rent our house out for like mad cheap, bro. Like for the amount that we was paying for our mortgage. And I was just like, heck nah, like anybody can live in this particular house. Like this particular house was like gorgeous. And I put the price up there for how much I thought, and I'm usually on the money with things. I put up how much I thought the house could be rented out for, which was around I wanted 5,000 per month, but I think I put it to like 4,500 a month because it was just that valuable. And I knew that if, you know, it was a 5-bedroom house, 4 of the bedrooms had its own bathroom, 3 stories, not including the basement, so the basement before, everything. But I put it out there for 4,500. What happened was this insurance company came to me and they were like, listen, we want to rent out your property, but instead of giving you 4,500, we want to give you 5,200 because it's a short-term lease, right? And I was like, all right, okay. And but guess what? I took it a little further because I was like, well, how long, right? And she said for 6 months. I'm like, dang, but then we have to worry about putting another tenant in and stuff, and we don't want to have to foot the bill at 35. So you have to really figure that out as well. You know, it's $5,200 worth, a short-term lease. And so we learned a little bit more about the company and how much they were willing to pay for the same tenants to rent out an Airbnb. So I counter offered and asked for 6,000, and they gave us the $6,000 per month.
Yeah, and if you are interested in having your home rented out to an insurance company, then you can probably reach out to companies that pay out insurance, and you could tell them that you have a property that you have available to anyone in need from their company that would need a home, because the tenants that rented our home, their house, they lived in our community, but their home was distressed because they had a fire.
Mm-hmm.
And so the insurance company was looking to put them in a home similar to the home that they already had in the neighborhood that they were already in, so that they could live the same lifestyle that they were living. Um, and if you reach out to your local insurance companies around you, they may have people who they are looking to place in homes that are now under situations that have been distressed due to unforeseen or undesirable circumstances, and they may need to rent out that home to your home to them, because the same thing happened to us in Jersey City. I'm not sure if you remember, Amber, that they had a flood in their
Mm-hmm.
house a couple of doors down, and
Yep.
they wanted the insurance
They
company
want
wanted
to
to
rent
rent
out
out.
now.
When I was working at this, y'all hear that note? That zzz? Can y'all hear
Yeah,
that?
I think it might be we have.
It's the mics. Okay, so when I was working at Hampton Inn, I used to work at the front desk at Hampton Inn, and we would have families that would be staying at the hotel for months, like 4 months, 5 months, 6 month stretches. And I think at some point it became more beneficial for the insurance companies to put people into homes if it was going to take them long term to do like a new roof or flooring or whatever the case, because it might have been a fire or flood damage and stuff like that. So if you're in a situation to where you're like, hey, I don't really need to be here. There's some, like I could probably go stay with my grandma, or I could go stay with my parents or something like that. And I can put my home up for rent to, or for rent to the insurance companies. That could be significantly beneficial to you. Right. And that's something that I'm strongly considering. Like, Big Mama, I can cook, I can rub feet. Like, you just need to scoot over, let me be in the house for a little bit. But I'm like, man, that's a really good way to secure some finances. So that's awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
one of the things I want to share is that I think we'll talk a little bit more about it when we have the event. The future of real estate is going to be even better than the present and the past, because in the future there are going to be new creative ways that you can invest to grow wealth without even owning a home. You can invest in real estate now without even owning the home, and you can see your money grow as if you were investing in a stock. You can invest in the equity of a home or the value of a home through the tokenization of the home. And that's something that we're going to briefly touch and share a resource to you with when you come to that live event that's coming up in a week. You're muted again. I think you're muted again.
Oh! Okay. It's June 9th through the 12th. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. I will be speaking on budgeting and money management, and Dr. Harrison and Mrs. Dr. Harrison, Amber Lachey with Ratchet Assets, will be discussing everything that you've heard here today and then some, right? Like, so the tokenization of investing into real estate and being able to invest into it without property ownership, and just constantly mind-blowing information. So if you want to attend virtually, you can reach out to myself or Miss Amber Lachey, and we all have discount codes for you. You save 30% off of your ticket. If you want to attend in person, we can then again help you save 30%. So the important thing is that you don't miss the information, because it is a multi-day event of you learning money management, investing in real estate, investing into the stock market, and investing through options trading. So you don't want to miss it. It's not just us two. There's more people who are experts in their spaces, right? So I'm really excited about that.
I am just so impressed with the people who stayed on, because we did start late. Thank you for your patience. Whichever code you use, so whether you use Bougie Banker's code, what is yours? Bougie 30.
Bougie 30. Yep.
Yes, Derek and I would offer a consultation throughout the home buying process. I typically don't like doing that, but it seemed like there was a couple of people who were really interested with regards to just jumping into real estate, and so we're willing to offer at least 3 hours of our time to guide you through that process. So you can use, if you just remind, literally just, you can use Bougie 30 code. Like, this is for the baddies that attended this live today.
Yes. Oh, and
All
also
right.
this expired. Am I muted again? Okay, I'm not. This offer expires June 8th at 11:59 p.m. Because after the event is we can't do nothing after the event. It comes with the event. So that's exciting. That's so exciting.
Thank you.
Excited. Okay. So I'm supposed to be tired because we've been talking for like 2 hours, but I'm just hyped now. Everybody's excited. Looks like Raquel wants to attend in Canada. Awesome. Alexandria wants to attend. Y'all, that's so exciting. Y'all are going to love it. So I think we are good here. Y'all, please make sure, again, you go and follow Ratchet Assets on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and thank you so much, Dr. Harrison, Mrs. Dr. Harrison, Amber Lachey with Ratchet Assets. Y'all, that is going to do it. This is the first IG live that we did on YouTube as a YouTube live, and it will be the home for all the other lives. So be sure to subscribe, okay? See y'all later. Grab your freebies from my website, and we'll see you next time. Bye.